He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here afterwards. You have got to be kidding me. Fireworks. Here you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on and welcome all inside High and Tight, the flagship show, part of the IA Baseball Network. As always, like, share, subscribe, spread the word, and hey, let us know what you think. Again, happy to be doing this. The show, it's all about the sport of baseball in Iowa, from the high school ranks to the professional level and everything in between. This time around, though, we're deep in the heart of high school baseball season. That's where we're at right here and right now. And as we continue along, I bring in the co-host, partner in crime, and Kay Nissen as he joins me as we get ready to rock. Again, a lot of things we dive into the details with. A lot of things that we're excited about, some things we said, and some things we liked that we saw, and a whole lot more. So without it, again, join the ride, and as always, become a baseball fan here, high school baseball fan here in the state of Iowa. It's always a good thing. This show brought to you in part by the great folks at Victory Mounds. Check them out today for all your equipment needs, and of course the playability of your field. You know, they do a great job from products to equipment to services, everything in between. They've got it from pitching mounts, pitching rubber, home plate, everything. They've got it covered. Check out their website where all questions will be answered at victorymounds.com. All right. Again, happy to be we're at our home studios here. It's a good chance to kind of get that as we're recording this and just having a good time. But hey, Cade, what a good week this was. Another week in the books. I know it already seems like we're gotten a lot of things under our belt, but there have been a lot of shakers and a lot of movers, and it's been a pretty good week.
Yeah, this is kind of when stuff starts to really get going, I'd say. The first few weeks, 1A and 2A, some of the teams kind of start their schedule a little later than others, but I'd say this is really last week was the first real full week where we've got teams consistently playing on the day. Obviously, when I'm making my games to watch graphics, those take like 45 minutes every day. It's nice when I'm getting to put the number 1, number 2, number 3 teams in every day because they're playing more. So that's a ton of fun. And yeah, we're in the full swing of things. And before you know it, we'll be punching tickets to state. We'll be talking quarterfinal. I mean, we're going to be I can't believe it. This stuff goes so fast, man. It feels like I was just at state wrestling.
Oh, man, I tell you what, and it's felt as a baseball fan, like, man, we've waited so long to get here, and now I've blinked and already 2 weeks have gone, right? We've already on through that mark, but there's already some big games. I mean, you got the chance to catch in Des Moines at the county baseball complex there. That one I've never checked out. That seemed to be pretty good, and kind of that good scenario, good fit for baseball, just a great overall complex.
Yeah, it really was. And I know, Andrew, a focus for us this year was putting more focus on the smaller classes. And
Yep.
I think that's extremely important. Obviously, last year was kind of our first full year working together on it, I'd say. We covered a lot of Class 4A, a lot of Class 3A. But I really put a focus this year on going and hitting those 2A and 1A guys. And I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I-35 was great. Grandview Christian and Beckman Catholic were great. I've got some games I'm kind of circling on my calendar this week. But that's the thing that's great about Iowa is there's great baseball in every single class, and each class has its own storylines. And it's so fun to follow it because, I mean, there's only 4 of them. It's not like football where I've got 7 classes to follow, and that's just all over the place. In baseball, it's just like the perfect number of the 4 classes, a lot of good storylines. Yeah. Each class is up in the air, and we've got contenders kind of separating themselves at this point.
Yeah, and I like is where, right now is where the juice is really worth the squeeze because we're getting into matchups we're going to potentially see at into playoff time, and we're going to see teams that are right now maybe dwelling up a class and they'd be playing up a class and getting beat up, but we're going to see them go deep when it comes to postseason time. So this is kind of where, again, where the juice kind of is really worth the squeeze. But in this show, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at some of our big teams to watch here, and as well take a look at some players, some standouts through the first 2 weeks who we've had on our radar. And I mean, there's a lot in there. There's a lot to take a look. And any thoughts, any comments, let us know. And did we miss something? Do you think we were spot on? Of course, we'd love to pat ourselves on the back and have anyone say that we were spot on, but certainly we want you to tell us what your thoughts are, because again, you got the pulse on it too. You're there at games. We want to hear what you have to say, so make sure to hit us up. So, all right, let's go ahead, Kate, and start off with our teams of the week. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to catch this on social media across there as well. You'll be able to catch and give us comments here. And, of course, as we go throughout the week, see how well we did with our thoughts and stuff. So, Kate, let's go ahead now. I know last week we started with the lower classes. Do you want to start with the higher classes, go down? I'm going to let the co-host pick the path we're going to go through here.
I had my 1A school ready, but if you want to start with the big guys, I will. And it was Waukee for me. They were our biggest jumper in Class 4A last week. A sweep of Dowling and a win over Waukee Northwest, and really that's a big one. I know it's just one game on the schedule for everybody else, but for Waukee and Waukee Northwest, that game means a ton for them. And I wish I could have made it. I'm hopefully going to make it to the second game. I know they play. They got a doubleheader later in the season that I'm going to go ahead and circle on my calendar. But no, Waukee, they've been playing really, really well. I always have kids from Waukee DMing me on my personal on Instagram, so it's good to finally give them some pub. Their pitching has been incredible. We talked about Braden Billings on our ranking show, so if you haven't checked out the ranking show, go check that out. I mean, they've got a top three that's really throwing the ball well, but especially Billings and Zach Turpin, both seniors leading the way on the mound. They got a staff ERA of 2.32, really impressive, especially considering the competition they've played. And the bats are swinging well too, 276. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but they're scraping runs by. They're finding ways to win games against a really good team. And that sweep over Dowling Catholic really stuck out to me this week.
Yeah, and that's something where it really is important. That is going to be an important mark down the road when you take a look, because I know Dowling Catholic's going to bounce back. This week just wasn't their week, but they're going to bounce back, and they're one of those perennial contenders for the state tournament. So that means a whole lot. When you can go ahead and make that kind of statement right there, it does mean a lot. And on the other end too, it does mean a lot of who you play. So you get even losses. There's never a good term, but good losses. But when you face a slate like that, and even if you lose all of them, it still is valuable to some degree, because it does mean that you played some good teams at that. So, I get you right there 100%. The team that I'm going to go with here is a team that has graced the 13-win mark, and a team that I got the chance to see, and that's Iowa City High. And I know that they're near the top. I know they're not as big of a riser, but the way that I've seen them really put the season together has been stellar. And they've gone through some good teams. Davenport Assumption, Prairie splitting that, Cedar Falls. They've swept them now in 2 games. Western Dubuque, they went there, and their slate's just going to get tougher here in the next week or so. But they've come out. They've really they've really done a good job. In fact, not a lot of teams, as you look at the schedule, they have not given up more than 5 runs once this entire season. As you look at the schedule, they have not given up more than 5 runs once. Why? Because they have the top ERA in Class 4A. And I know that sometimes a team that isn't as offensively great with their numbers gets overlooked. The batting average isn't stellar here for this team, but you wouldn't have been able to guess that when they played Western Dubuque. They got on base constantly. There was always somebody on there, aside from 2 or 3 innings of that doubleheader. So I think Iowa City High has a recipe, not just for now, but I truly believe that recipe will stick once we get into crunch time, once we get into the postseason. It's gonna really provide a big mark. So I think that, again, they're not the flashiest in the rise category or anything like that right now, but they're a pitching staff with Talon Young and Schrader that was back to back, if you you had those back to back, which they did against Western Dubuque, no team is going to have a lot of hits. No team is going to do very well. Schrader took Western Dubuque hitless and throughout most of that, well, the whole game really. And so this is, and they go deep too. They only had to use two or three pitchers that entire slate on Friday, and they're gonna need a little bit of help here. I don't know if you're gonna get Talon Young going up against Kennedy, but I do know that you're gonna get Schrader, and it's gonna be a fun one. So yeah, I think I do like what Iowa City High has, and I think they're going to go far. So yeah, I like them. That's my 4A pick. And now let's move on over to 3A here as we take a look. And Cade, I'll let you go first here on this one, but I think there are so many teams to pick. It got me. I don't know about you, but I got a headache trying to figure out who in the heck my 3A team of the week is going to be.
Yeah, see, I was kind of the other way. I thought there was one team that really stuck out, and you got them. So I was kind of picking for everybody else. I don't know. It was really tough. Like you said, there was a lot of different options, but this week I went with Pella. They were new in the rankings, and the more I look at them, the more I really like what they bring to the table. And they're a really youthful team. I don't see any seniors on this bound list of any seniors pitching or putting in at bats. So this is a team that's going to return a lot on both ends, and they're led by the star and Isaiah Kettler. I mean, he's been putting in work, 7 doubles, a triple, and a homer. He's hitting 615, slugging over 1,000. They also got Tegan Hoekstra hitting or slugging over 800. And I gotta give a shout out whenever I talk to Pella about Anderson Sherm, the junior, the catcher. Man, if you don't follow him on social media, he does
You have
days in the life every single day. I respect that so much. I've had a ton of fun following his journey. I feel like I'm a part of his journey now through IA Baseball and through my own personal account of following him. Really cool to see that kind of stuff across the state of Iowa. I know he's off to a little bit of a slow start right now that he's probably not happy about, but he's going to snap out of it with how much work he puts in. I just got to give a shout to him because I've really enjoyed following that journey all throughout the preseason in and out. But no, I mean Pella, the pitching has been really good to start the year. Nathan Vandaloon, the junior, has been putting in work, ERA that's really small right now. They also got Hoekstra throwing good innings for him, as well as Nathan Carey throwing double-digit innings. And, I mean, they're competing in a tough conference. They're going to have to deal with the likes of DCG, who they've got actually on Monday. That you got Pella Christian in there. But they're competing thus far. They swept Newton last week, got a win over Indianola, and they've got wins over Boone already, wins over Clear Creek and Mana already. So I like Pella.
Yeah, I love them a lot here too, and I say that a lot. I mean, I love how you mentioned Hoekstra. Kalman is a guy I like as well on that squad. Sherm, as you mentioned, he's got this is a lineage team, right? Kettler is interesting stat here that I put down again. The many that I do, but he has the most doubles for any batter with 2 strikeouts or less. So
Wow.
not only just 3A, but that's reaching up into 4A as well. So he's been doing so again. Kudos on that, Mark. But you got also Nathan Carey on there, who's the sibling, I believe, of the older Carey, who is the head coach for Central College baseball. And then, of course, you mentioned Sherm. His dad was a former coach for Central College. Now works for the CAA Advantage Athletes. So again, that's a real good. I love that. I love that lineage line there. It really is cool. For me, I am going to take the team that you ended up. I know you and I were kind of on the same page, definitely with this. But the team that I'm going to go with is Sadell. Sadell is the squad that right now they're matching some of the best of the best. A 1.47 ERA, 94 strikeouts. Again, that marks again a top 10 mark overall. Actually, no, top 5 for them. And they've just been dealing. They've had a lot of good guys. They've had a lot of, I guess, talented guys. Some guys that have come in, right? They've had some guys come in from Southeast Polk, from Ankeny, and man, it's done a whole lot of good for them. As I bring up my stats here and my notes, but it's been fun to watch. We've already known about Jace Embry. He's brought a lot to the table as well. But I love Mean. I love Mr. Clean, Mean, throwing machine here. And again, the strikeout king and Adam Mean right now for this squad. Brady Hicks, we've already mentioned what he brings to the table as well. But man, this a lot of things going well. You got five guys over 10 total bases right now. I mentioned Embry and Boyd Jones. He's one of the transfers in, and he has stepped up well. I mean, seven extra base hits right now, 25 total bases to lead the program. And again, he's hitting nearly 500 on the year. So it's impressive to watch. He's been part of some big late game heroics, and we've already seen a couple of those this year from him. So I like Sadell. I like the fact that they have now jumped into the rankings. Our 3A ranker seems to really like what they bring to the table. And I think they've been knocking so hard that they finally cracked the door open and just pushed their way in because they're here. And honestly, this is a team that is dangerous and, honestly has enough going for them. Their strength of schedule it leaves a little bit to be desired. However, you just got to go out and win the games that are in front of you. And they've done just that. Their lone loss against the 3A ADM, and ADM has the eighth toughest schedule across the 3A scene. So, there's ups and downs with it, but Sadell, I'm really, really fond of Sadell. I think they are here and here to stay. Sadell is going to make a big impact as we go throughout the season. But as we roll right along here, again, make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Check us out on Rockfin. Subscribers eat first, man. Go ahead and get there, and you can catch all the great content before anyone else does, including the exclusive to Rockfin content. So make sure to check that out today. All right, so now we're going to move along to the 2A scene. And Cade, I'll go with a team that you have seen personally. Again, one of many, but a team that you have seen personally and that I have really come to enjoy, and that is I-35. The Roadrunners have been really fun to watch, man, and they beat up. And I mean, really did beat up on a recently. If you go back and watch our 3A rankings reveal, they beat out on a team that is now made their way into the top 15, and their schedule has been solid. They have worked through. They've worked through a little bit here and there. They got a lot of guys who are just here to ball, right? And they can do a lot with that. 9 wins on the year is nothing to sniff at, and they've done it against a lot of good programs here. I mean, overall, Woodward Granger, I think, is so much better than what Bound is rating them at. Swept them very well. They went one run against Des Moines Christian, lost that, but they beat up on West Central Valley and they took down Creston. So honestly, I think they're in the right track. They're doing well, and they've got some games coming on up here against Pleasantville. Their very next game that they play, that's going to be tough. Madrid, Van Meter, another showing with Des Moines Christian. So their slate will give them a boost or it'll send them down, but I think that they are very capable. This program right now, I-35, they've had spurts in the past. I think this could be their year that they go ahead and take some big wins and make a big leap forward.
Yeah, I think that's back-to-back weeks. I-35, they were my team last week. They're your team this week. That's got to be a record of some
Oh
sort. But
yeah, I
no,
love that.
I went with a team I saw in the preseason in Anamosa, and they started in the rankings, hopped out, and I knew it would be a matter of time before they hop back in, and here they are, slotting him and becoming my team of the week. A good week last week, and really, I'm just impressed with what they bring, and I was impressed when I saw them in person. They got Carter Cool leading the way offensively, 19 total bases, getting on base at a 7.10 clip. That's impressive nonetheless. And haven't played a ton of games yet, but they're hitting 299 as a team. And the pitching is really where I liked them in the preseason. I liked their 1-2 punch they had in the preseason. Jack Selnaw, he's been impressive so far. He had a good outing last week. I remember posting him on our kind of a players of the game to look out for, or whatever you call it. Waters is in there. Jackson Waters in there throwing 13 innings. They got a team staff ERA below 2.83 and a team whip at 133, which is right around where you'd want them at. As
Yeah.
far as the elite company go, teams are only hitting 219 off them. That's a good number as well. So I've liked what they're bringing to the table. Suffered a few losses early to Davenport North and Makokata, but since then, I mean, they've been on fire. They've got 5 wins in a row. And looking ahead, they've got a good schedule. They got one against Central DeWitt, which should be interesting. But besides that, West Liberty, doubleheader with Comanche, Lisbon, Northeast. I see a possibility for Anamosa to be racking up a lot of W's and just slowly start laddering their way up the Class 2A polls.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. This is a team last year that made their way on strong and really kind of gave little doubt as to why they should be in the rankings. And this year, man, if the schedule's tough, so you go through what you can and do what you can. But that's a good pick. That's a good pick for sure. Now let's move on to 1A. For me, I bounced around a little bit with this, but Key High, they're my team, man. Right now, I've loved what they put together. Again, it's not always stellar. This team has still found a way to win. They did kind of lose. They lost a big one here this week, but in the end, they are making do a lot with what they can. And right now, they have 10 doubles. That's again one of the upper marks here. Again, not the top mark by any means, but 10 doubles pretty solid for them overall, and it's not gonna blow anybody away here. They don't have any other extra base hits though, so they're really kind of playing that station to station baseball. They're doing what they need to do. I think that this is one of those teams that some people will question pretty heavily on. Ultimately, I think Key is going to be back to when they had 20, 30 wins from the couple years prior. I think he has again a lot of guys that you can go through, but again, I like how they operate, and they're not shy, I should say, of being ready to kind of take some even aggressive mistakes. Sometimes you won't get it quite right, but again, I love the program. Some big wins over Coon Rapids Bayard to be one, and you got Braden Darling for me, who's obviously he's the hits leader, 11 hits, 12 total bases for him on the year at a clip of 423. But I think what this team is going to get back into is pitching and stolen base production as well. But I will say the name synonymous with Key has been the last name Coda. And we got Jordan Coda, the junior here, leading the way, 17 strikeouts, under a buck ERA. Team's hitting 152 against him, man. I like Key. Man, not the flashiest, but I guarantee you they will be the team to beat come the postseason time. So they're rocking it right now. I think they'll go even further.
Yeah, I usually pick teams towards the bottom of the poll that made the biggest jump, something like that. But this week, I mean, Linville Soli has just been way too impressive for me not to like just give them my team of the week, and it's going to be hard not to give it to them every single week based on what they're doing right now. I mean, they are just pummeling everybody in their path, and whether it's a talented foe or maybe someone not as talented, they're being put in front of them and they're taking care of them, and they've got big wins already. I mean, they've already blanked Ankeny Christian in dominant fashion. That's a really good win, and I mean the stats back it up. They're one of two teams in the entire state to have a team batting average above 405, and you add to the fact that they're fourth in Class 1A in ERA, so you got that kind of yin and yang. I mean, they're elite offensively, they're elite defensively. I mean, and the name that everyone's going to be talking about is Quarter Down Harder, and rightfully so. I mean, he is the name for them, but you don't hit 405 as a team because one guy is going off. You hit 405 as a team because you got 1 through 9 putting together quality at bats, and that's what they're doing. Lucas Seek, I mean, Landon Montgomery, Carson Mason. I mean, these guys are all tallying double-digit hits already. Davis Utek. I'm sorry if I'm saying that name wrong. I mean, every single guy in their batting in their bound batting lineup is hitting 303 minimum, and most of them are right around 400, and you got Quarter Down Harder up there at 700. So you got that guy in the middle of the lineup that is just he's gonna produce for you, and you got guys around him that are gonna make teams pay when you pitch around Down Harder, and that's what makes elite teams. And this team is hungry. I can tell you that. And they've got the pitching to back it up too. Seek and Mason, both with double-digit innings, both with ERAs below a buck at this point in the year. So Linville Soli, they're going to be a really tough team to beat, and they might be that team that won't lose unless they beat themselves. And I know last year is still sticking in their brain. It still sticks in my brain. And I know that that team's hungry and on a different mission this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt they will. I guarantee they'll be back where they want to be, and hopefully even further than that because they're on a heck of a run. But yeah, again, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you thought. Give us your comments, your takes, and we want to hear from you as always. Plus, if you don't want to connect with us here, hit us up on socials or iabaseball1@gmail.com. And you can go ahead and email us your thoughts there, along with anything else in store. So let us hit that up. But for right now, let's move right along as we now dive into some individuals that we've liked. And again, these are individuals that we've liked across the first 2 weeks. Again, may not be the top guys. Certainly, we've talked about at this point a lot of the top guys. Right? We've talked a lot of guys that just have been up there. We've said names here and there. So we kind of took this exercise as a way to kind of take through some other guys who have had some big statistical 2 weeks, and we may have not talked about a lot. So let's get right into that. And I think we can reverse our. I don't know if I'm throwing you for a loop here, but I think we can kind of reverse what we did with the team rankings here, Cade, and dive into 1A first as we take a look at what's going on here. And I got a name here for you first, quick. A guy that I think you've mentioned once, so I'm not going to say he hasn't been mentioned. But Austin Jordan is a guy out of Grandview Christian that I'm going to have to say, and I'm going to have to say so because at hitting at 513, he's making his way on. As part of a team that's really pushing, really making a huge push in the 1A scene. So he's one of my two guys here that I like a lot, and honestly, he has 8 RBIs so far, but that number is going to jump up considerably. He's good on the base pass. He's done really good in the field. So man, I think that Austin Jordan deserves a shot at being named here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. I just got 5 guys. I got 3 of them in Class 1A actually, so we might just have to trade off. But I got another member of the Thunder squad, and it was for one reason and one reason only, and it's Tate Moulton, and it's because 2 weeks, 3 weeks in the year, however far you want to count it, 30 for 30 on stolen bases so far. That is impressive. And he's leading the entire state in that category. And that's why I picked him out. And to be not caught when everyone knows that you're going is the ultimate sign of speed. And he's got that. And I got to see him in person. He impressed. And he's not just stealing 30 bags. He's also hitting 463 and slugging at a 529 clip. So funny enough about a guy that steals 30 bags, he's got 19 hits. And I'm going to let you guess how many of them are singles. All 19 of them. So that almost works for him though, because every single is turning into a triple for him. So you might as well have a slugging percentage of 800 for a guy like him, the way he's just getting on and turning singles into triples. So Tate Moulton, he was one of my 1A guys that I had. I'll go ahead and go second here since I got multiple 1A guys here as I pull up his stuff on Bound. But it's the strikeout king at this point in the season. It's Cale Bracewell of Colfax Mingo. I don't think we've talked about him yet, and even if we haven't, he deserves to be talked about again. He's got all 3 wins for his team. He's on Colfax Mingo, just 3-6, I believe, at this point. And when you're 3-6 and one guy has all 3 wins, that's impressive. And he's got 23 innings. Next closest guy has 9 for him, so he's their workhorse. He's going in, he's putting in work. Guys are only hitting 128 on him. He's got 49 Ks. Again, that leads the state. A whip below a buck. And he's also leading the team in batting average. I saw he's hitting 294 at the plate. So Cale Bracewell doing it all for Colfax Mingo at this point in the year. They're going to be one of those teams, Andrew, in Class 1A. That's going to be right around the 500 mark, maybe a little bit below that. I know that those ranked teams are not going to want to see Colfax Mingo drawn on their first bracket, because whoever has to face Cale Bracewell in round 1 of the postseason is going to be sweating heading into that one.
Yeah, I can guarantee you. I'm already gonna say nope. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna reseed. I'm gonna try and do whatever I can to get away with that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the pitching route with you here as well. Tyler Hoodger of Janesville is the guy that I'm gonna go here with next. I like how he's doing it. He has been, if methodically efficient now. 36 strikeouts, just 2 walks, and that's all through 25 innings pitched. Again, when you can breach the number of innings pitched with the number of strikeouts you have, that goes a long way for me. And again, I mean, he's second in the class. I shouldn't say state. Second in the class in innings pitched. So that is methodical, and I like how he's putting it up there. Again, well, you just 2 walks. That is tough to do. That strike zone is never the same from umpire to umpire. You managed to make it so, and so he's aggressive, man. It's why he has 36 strikeouts. Again, a 1.38 ERA. Teams batting under $1 against him. That's never easy to come by. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I like how they're doing that.
Yeah, my final Class 1A guy before I hand it off to you for Class 2A. The stat did get kind of ruined, I got to say, over the weekend. On Friday, I got a DM about him, but it's Landry Haberichter from Burlington, Notre Dame. I briefly talked about him, I think, on the rankings reveal. Going into the weekend, I believe he had 9 hits, and every single one was for extra bases. Now, over the weekend, they must have played a game because now he's got 12 hits, and 2 of them are singles. So he ruined the stat, sadly. Gosh dang, I don't know why he's got a hit for a single, but no, he's got a slugging percentage over 1,000 at 1,100, and I mean 12 hits, 7 doubles, 2 triples, and a homer. So he's hitting for extra bases a ton, and he struck out 0 times through 23 ABs. So Landry Haberichter, I mean that's just kind of one of those crazy stats that you just kind of come across. And if you ever have a crazy stat, feel free to DM us. I mean, this
Yeah.
is not something I'm fishing through and finding. This is stuff that people are sending us, and a lot of the ones that we have are stuff that people send us. So don't be afraid to DM us. It's never too much. I always appreciate people that reach out to us and send us their stuff. So Landry Haberichter, the extra base hit machine. We'll see if you can keep that pace up. But Andrew, who do you got for 2A?
For 2A, man, I went through a couple different guys. The first guy I'm going to go with is Cam Templeton out of Marquette Catholic. You talk about stolen base guy here in 1A scene. How about taking a look at this guy here? He has 24 stolen bases. That marks first in the class. And on top of that, 26 total bases. That's sixth in the class. He's helping this team out quite a bit, getting there, doing that, what he needs to do. Again, there's always a tough slate for Marquette Catholic, but honestly, it's fun. I mean, the first time I saw out of this guy, I mean, I will say I've seen him. I believe I've seen him once, but man, this guy can range from basically. I don't know if he's played in catcher, but I guarantee he could go from catcher to outfield and not miss a beat. Again, he has helped this team go undefeated in conference play. Again, from the Tribe Rivers East Conference, I believe, and then of course 8-2 overall. Yeah, it's been fun. They defeated 3A's Glen Ralston 7-3. A lot due to him, but honestly, this is a guy who is quick. He has a good head on his shoulders. He's meant for baseball, and I'm glad he's doing that. So, this is a guy I feel Templeton. Man, I think you got to put your marker circling his name for weeks to come because he's going to be a guy that when you get to the postseason, he's going to be a guy that you're just going to not want to do anything with. You could wish you could just get an automatic out because you walk him, he'll hurt you. If you just let him hit, he'll hurt you. There's no way that you can go anywhere else with this guy. He's also great with the pitching wise. He does have 16 strikeouts as well. So I mean, what more could you like about it? So honestly, he's my guy, and I'm going to go with him for one of my two, Cam Templeton.
Yeah, I found a 2A guy quick that I can talk about. I saw him in person, and I feel like he's kind of undervalued a little bit, even though he led the state in strikeouts last year. And it's Owen Seeger, and I guess I never realized how elite he was with the bat. I mean, he's got 23 runs scored, leads Class 2A. Pitching wise, he's only thrown 11 innings. I don't know if it's an injury that he's coming back from or something along those lines. But even in those 11 innings, 2 hits, no earned, and 22 Ks. So in the minimal innings he's thrown to start the season, he's been elite. And with the bat, he's a force at the top of their lineup. And I was really impressed with him in person. He played a really good center field for them. And for a West Marshall team that is really exciting and fun, and they're really youthful. And he's that guy, him and Shaver, I guess, that the seniors kind of leading the way. So that's what makes me kind of like him even more. Is he's leading a bunch of guys. He's the senior, kind of showing the way and leading the way. And it's a team that realistically, I could see, in the finals hoisting the trophy. I mean, I see that for West Marshall because they got the pitching depth, they've got some elite bats, and I was really impressed watching them in person. They took down a good Pleasantville team, and I'm really liking West Marshall and Owen Seeger specifically.
Oh yeah, and plus, he's another guy gets on the base paths and can wreak havoc. What 20? I think 22 out of 23. Uh, I just have my notes drawn up, but 22 out of 23 stolen bases, near perfect on that. Very fun. But yeah, I will. I'll add one more to the mix here in 2A, and for me, it's going to be Carson Nisheim of Clarion Goldfield Downs. Now, his hit wise may not light up the stat book here, but he does have 35 strikeouts already in the season, and I got the chance to catch him live last year when it was the Field of Dreams game. We covered against them and St. Edmunds. So Clarence Goldfield Downs against St. Edmunds. He was really just in and out of the zone, picking it apart. I love how he paints the corners well and not afraid to go high and tight. The show title, but
Good, that was good.
I I try. I try. But anyway, yeah, I like how he's not afraid to hit those marks, and he constantly does that. Yes, he does get hit dinged pretty hard every so often. We all do, but I like him. I like the fact that he's in a district that has put a lot of money into the field, put a lot of money into that program overall. So it shows that Clary Goldfield Downs, while the record might not be where they want it, the program I think is in really good hands, especially with Coach Nail. But anyway, going back, I love Nisheim. I love what he's doing there, and he's going to be a guy to watch, and I guarantee he's going to be the guy on the mound when the postseason starts.
Absolutely. I've got a 3A guy I can kick things off with, and I'm pretty sure he's an Iowa commit. I guess I'm not 100% sure. Tate Slagle of Algona.
Yep, he
I've
is.
seen yeah, I've seen some videos of him online. Man, that dude's got a sweet swing. And maybe he's in a part of the state of Iowa that's kind of difficult for us to get to, so we don't talk about him a ton. But he's one of the bigger names in the state of Iowa, and he's off to just a red hot start. 15 hits, 10 singles, 2 triples, and 3 homers. Slash line of 517, 659, and 966. And he's been walked 11 times. So people are obviously pitching around him, which is always frustrating, I'm sure, for those top guys just being pitched around constantly. But he's still finding ways to do damage. Only 3 strikeouts at this point in the year. And I mean, he's leading the way in innings pitched as well. 17 innings, 33 Ks. And he's got a whip sub 1. So Tate Slagle leading that Algona team. Gonna have to find some way to get to them and cover him, because he just seems like a ball of energy every time he touches the field for them.
Oh, no doubt about that, man. That guy, he has great ability to turn and burn. I mean that is fun to watch. When you get that, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Brocious out of Waller. A guy that can just, I mean, he can turn a single into a double. Iowa saw that early, and again, he's one of the few that got the chance to take advantage of the old recruiting rules in a sense. I don't know if it's advantage, but Iowa snagged him up early, and for the reason being what you just mentioned. The guy can absolutely turn and burn, and just he does it all, and I love it. I love it as well. So good pick there. I will go, and I will mention the guy who is top 10 in 3 different categories, and that is Dawson Ellers out of Bondurant Farrar. Now, on a team that has Jordan Ryle on that, and Roberts, I mean, guys that have been, I saw, just absolutely stellar. And when we broadcasted their game against Pella, they have been on fire. But this guy slowly, I don't know if he's under the radar, but 18 hits, 429 average, and 11 stolen bases, all top 10 marks. Not a lot of guys that can say they've been in 3 or more in the top 10. This guy can. Dawson Ellers has been absolutely fun to watch. So he's a guy that I think is I don't want to say is a background piece by any means. because of the very fact of what I just mentioned. But then again, he's with some other guys who can really come and rake and do well. So I think he's going to be a guy that really comes through late in games, and come postseason, you're just going to want to have to walk him, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, I'm finding more 3A guys as I'm going, so I can match you. So I got a 3A guy before I hand it back to you. And I think he's leading the entire class in batting average, I believe. And he comes from I wouldn't say my neck of the woods, but a neck of the woods that I've covered for time. And it's Ty Fuller. I had a ton of fun. I
Yeah,
filmed a few of their games last year. The Clippers just always are so welcoming of me, and I appreciate that. But Ty Fuller, heck of a start to him. 632 he's hitting. He's got 24 hits already. I wouldn't say it's out of nowhere because I know Ty and I know he's capable of that. But 632 at this point in the season, I bet not a lot of people had Ty Fuller leading Class 3A in the batting average. But he's producing, and really the entire Clipper offense is. The team's hitting 366 as a team. I believe that's first or second in Class 3A
yeah,
with Marion. If I remember off the top of my head, but they're finding ways to produce runs. McLean Morgan, Caden Fan. So I guess I'm kind of rambling on a bunch of guys, but you could just hand it to the entire Clear Creek Amana Clipper offense. But shout out to Ty Fuller for leading the class in batting average through a few weeks in the season.
yeah. And by the way, too, leading in hits, right?
Yep.
Those 24 hits paces the entire way, and I think our 3A ranker is really going to have to think about things moving forward here with what CCA is, and them they're rocking it. I love it, and again, some sophomore class. I think we're finding here a lot of good sophomore classes from last year. We're recognizing a lot of juniors this year, so again, really fun stuff. Really fun stuff here. So for me, I continue on from Dawson Ellers, who I will say point out one of three Blue Jays in the top four for total hits. So kudos to Bondurant Farrar. If you check our rankings reveal, you can be able to catch the fact that they were rocking it again in a top 15 mark, and you can say why three guys in the top 10 that hits there. But for another guy that I really had my eye on here several times, in fact, is now Boyd Jones. Mentioned him already briefly. 25 total bases for him. Already hitting that 25 beyond mark. 46 average. 17 total hits. I'll say that is right in line with guys like Isaac Scott, a big name out of Marion, Will Potabom, Parker Ernst, and Ellers out of Bondurant Farrar, and then of course Ty Fuller out of CCA. Boyd Jones is right in that mix there, and there's not a whole lot to dislike about it. Again, 17 combined extra base hits. He does have, he'd have to have, or excuse me, yeah, 17 combined extra base hits. He doesn't have as many RBIs, but he's the guy that's really coming through and scoring runs, right? He's the guy that comes through. He's the guy that gets everything. Ultimately, he has 12 runs scored on the year, so you can see why that. So I like Boyd Jones. I got some other guys on my list here, but Boyd Jones, I thought, man, had this. He stood out. You know what? I think ultimately his numbers are only going to increase from here, especially as they go against some tougher talent. It's going to be fun to watch.
You want me to kick off Class 4A, Andrew?
Let me go through a couple more 3A guys
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some more other guys, and we already mentioned. Now I will say there is something to saying that Brett White, total base leader, from Solon, he is the guy that we've talked about before. He's obviously up there. We mentioned Kettler and his stats, Jake Miller. We already mentioned Ty Fuller, but I do want to say Will Specht as well. He's a guy for me, 3 strikeouts. That's it. He's only had 3 strikeouts through his time here, and he's he's a top 15, top 20 total base earner, RBI man, hits man. He's been through it all in the gauntlet. Will Specht is truly he is following in the footsteps yet blazing his own trail. I love what he's got going. He's part of that big sophomore group last year that I was told on a number of occasions, do not sleep on. If you do, you will be sorry. And I'm so glad that I took that, ran with that, and so yeah, I'm glad to be high on these guys. They do a great job. But also, Charlie Deverksten out of Storm Lake. Storm
No
Lake.
hitter.
Yeah, the no hitter. I mean, what 16 strikeouts? The no hitter. I that and again against then 15th ranked Spencer. Spencer's always a perennial power in the area, and Charlie, man, I'll give you credit here. Um, you didn't get. I haven't seen that great pitching and since. Boy, the last time we got the chance to broadcast a Storm Lake game was their sub-state final against MOC Floyd Valley, which I believe was about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when we broadcast that game, and we had a 1-0 win, and that was because both teams, including the pitcher at the time, uh, I'm blanking out on the name. This is kind of embarrassing mid-show. I'll say, head coach, his father's a head coach for the Beavers there in Storm Lake. Um, and I'm gonna look it up now just so that I get my bearings about me.
Mid show Google.
Yeah, mid show. I always love that. Lake baseball head coach. All right, so I will say, Coach Edie. That's right, Jake Edie. Oh man, Mark Eady, I should say. Both of those guys, but Mark Eady was a guy that I saw from Storm Lake. Absolutely, just he was ripping out batters left and right. And this is what I see out of our guy here in Charlie. And again, I'm gonna butcher the name here again. DeVergston. I'm so sorry if that goes south. Let us know that I made a mistake here. Hit us up. But he is a guy that I like as well. I like a lot. So again, for me, it's Jones, Allers, Specht, Devergston, White, Kettler, Miller, and Ty Fuller. Those are my 3A guys. So I have a whole lot more, a longer list, but let's, for show's sake, end it there.
I'll
But
kick I'll kick off Class 4A for you. I got to see him in person. It's kind of a trend for me. I like seeing guys in person. I know the stats are one thing, but guys just stick out in person, and this guy did for me. And it was Brandon B of Davenport North. I know when you think of Davenport North, you think of Clayton Bulkema, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a force in his own. I only didn't pick him because I feel like a lot of people know about him, and not a lot of people know about Brandon B. He's just a sophomore, and he's got the most hits in Class 4A at this point,
yep,
in 22 of them, and he's slugging too. He's not a big guy by any means, but he's scrappy. He goes out there and he plays a really good center field. But he's got 6 doubles, a triple, and a homer, and he's leading his team in RBI. And it's a Davenport North team that's known for their offense. I'll say. I mean, that team can hit, and they did in the game that I saw. I know they lost, but still, he stuck out to me. He started on the mound, and he gamed on the mound. I can tell he's not like a natural pitcher, I'd say, but I love those
yeah,
guys that maybe it's not their thing, but they go out there and they do it for the team, and he did that, and I was really impressed with him in center field. I thought he stuck out. He's perfect in stolen bases at this point,
yep,
and he's a sophomore. I mean, he's only a sophomore. He's competing on a really good Class 4A team, and I'm excited to watch him continue. I mean, he's leading his team in a lot of stuff, and he hits leadoff for him, and he stuck out to me at that Tim Hagen Invitational, and I'm glad I got to see him, and I'm excited to follow what he's got in store for this year and the years to come.
yeah. He is a fun guy to watch. I had him as a guy too. Only, well, I should say, no strikeouts. He is not struck out, and we saw him there. He grounded out, he flew out, it lined out, but he did not. In the Tim Hagen, what we saw, he didn't do any of that. And obviously, again, he hasn't struck out so far this year. But for me, a guy I'm going to go with is a guy that's already had some big waves made. He did so in week one. I'll give you this guy's a stat line through week one first before I go further. Or I guess last week, I should say, week two. Week two, he hit 640. He had 4 extra base hits, 6 stolen bases across that week. And that would be none other than Koana Lin out of Des Moines Roosevelt. He's a guy that I did not know a ton about coming into the season. He has made some big waves overall, now batting .571 total with all games combined. Just 1 strikeout, and that's through 22 total bases. Des Moines Roosevelt has a gauntlet of a schedule, and they go through it. But this is a team that 2 years ago won the Metro Conference title. They get the chance. I think they're going to do it again here. because they have that guy in Moore. So their schedule does allow for games in which he may be off for them to kind of come through and take a scrappy win. But ultimately, they're going to rely on him quite a bit, and I don't blame him with that. So, yeah, Kawana Lynn, he's my guy in the 4A scene, along with B, that I would kind of that has stuck out to me so far. But, yeah,
I got one more. I got one more, Andrew. If you got one more.
Oh, I got another one. Yeah, let's go ahead. Give me another. Give me your next. Let's do it.
Off. I've always really liked Brock Moore from Urbandale. I think he's
Yep.
maybe a little underrated. Leads Class 4A in doubles at this point, and he's the force for that Jayhawk team, and a Jayhawk team that's impressed at this point in the season. I know he catches for him too. I believe. Yeah, he's thrown out a guy through 8 attempts so far. He's solid defensively, and I remember seeing him last year. I haven't seen him yet this year. I remember seeing him last year, and I was really impressed with him as a junior, and he's off to a great start already. He's going to be leading that team a lot of the way. Only 4 strikeouts through 35 ABs, hitting 486, slugging 857 in Class 4A is not an easy thing to do when you're the main focus, I should say, of a team. So I got to give a shout out to Brock Moore because I've always enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, man, isn't he? Isn't that a fun? It's a fun team right now, and it's Brock Moore. I want to say first and foremost is more the name of Iowa high school baseball here. From Van Meter, Urbandale, and beyond. There's so many Moores across the state. I go, man, that is synonymous with baseball at this point. If you give me any more, I'm going, well, he plays baseball in Iowa. Why? Because I hear that so often. By the way, so that's a little shout out there to every Moore that exists here, because there's a whole lot of them. Yeah. Anyway, I'll continue on. A guy that I have liked last year, got the chance to catch him at the very Tim Hagen Classic that we were at this year. A guy, and I think I've said him before, can't really recall, but Grant Sorensen out of Waukee is the guy that I have been so intrigued with. I saw him blast some big doubles, and I've seen him make some big plays. He's a guy that can go really anywhere. I've seen him several places in the infield, but he has range. He can shuffle like the best of them. Got a good two-step dance move, I swear. He is just off and at him with that. 17 stolen bases on the year. He has been absolutely on fire when it comes to that. He's only missed 3, but then again, in the 4A scene, I think that can be comfortable to be with, not having got that, because you got guys behind the dish that are going to go to the D1 ranks, a lot of them anyway. So, again, Sorensen has been fun. He leads this team with 14 hits and a program that's going far really, really quickly here. And he's done everything but hit a home run. You know, he has 16 total base or extra base hits, 20 total, and a guy that's hitting 378. And so he is a guy that truly you can't work around, right? You can't just walk him to get him onto the base pass. You can't sit there and not let him hit. You have to try and be as competitive against a guy like that. And with Sorensen, it's really tough. So it's pretty much a lose-lose situation when you go up against Grant Sorensen. I love how the guy operates. Coach Dirks has mentioned him before, and I don't blame him. He has had a lot of high praise for this guy. Really, the entire team has been really good. You mentioned Billings as well. Braden Moore, another Moore name on that list of Moores across the state. But, Grant Sorensen is my other guy that I cannot go without mentioning. So,
Absolutely, that was all I had, Andrew. If you got any more,
oh, man, yeah, I sure could,
for
couldn't I?
the sake of the
I
show.
mean, for the sake of the show, I'll wind it down a little bit. Maybe some name shout outs is all I'll do. Bryce Dix out of Des Moines East. He ties with Sorensen as the leader in stolen bases. I do love him. We mentioned Tate Gray as well. But the team Clinton, I don't think we'll get enough say. The Clinton River Kings just they're kind of on the new coaching staff kind of thing, or some new coaches in that ranks. Hunter Lawrence, 571 right now. I think he's doing some really good work out there. He has 8 hits, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. Aiden Martin, the senior from Council Bluffs, Lincoln, You will not want to miss out on what he has. He is fun. He can hit. He has range. I mean, the guy is very fun to watch. 31 total bases for him. He's the top 15 guy, man. Also that marks 19 hits, and he's done it all. He's had 5 doubles, 2 triples, a home run. If only they all came in the same game, he'd be a Cole Nounharder cycle man. But unfortunately for him, not all of them come in the same time. But he is part of that resurgence. 4 years ago, the team was kind of still scrapping together. Last year, didn't quite have the pieces in place. I think they got the pieces in place. Aiden Martin's going to be a big key to that for them. So Aiden Martin, my other guy. And I'll be done. I'll wrap up. But
High and tight, baby.
oh man, absolutely love it, and man, we've had quite a show this time, and next time, ladies and gentlemen, hey, let us know anything we have for you. I got some, Cade and I got some trivia next high and tight that we'll go ahead and try and fool each other with. Hopefully, I'll give you a hint, everybody. If you've heard our broadcast, you'll have heard this trivia question from me. So I'm not going to give it now, but that way, hopefully, you can best Cade in that when we get there. But anyway, we're going to wrap things up. Cade, appreciate it. Week 4 coming on up. We're ready, or another week ready to go, and I can't wait for it. You're going to be heading to Monday, kicking it off with action all the way across the state.
Absolutely, yeah. City High at Kennedy, planning on being there the rest of the week. I got some options, but I'm up in the air. If you wanna have me out, DM me. Let's work. Same with Andrew. You want to have Andrew come stream your stuff? That's a high quality asset and something. It's something you're gonna have forever. And I think that's the pitch I always give to people. Is, I mean, these moments, you see them with your eyes and it's cool, but my job is to capture the moments so that you never have to unsee them, and I think that's valuable, and it's really cool for me being able to provide that. So you want to have me out and you want to remember these moments forever, let's work. So I'm excited. Week 3, week 4, whatever, on, let's giddy up.
Yeah, no doubt that. And hey, we'll have our game broadcast Tuesday as well. Van Meter, Des Moines Christian. That's going to be a fun one to catch as well. So, hey, like you said, become a baseball fan here in the state of Iowa. Become a high school baseball fan and enjoy what it is. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, until we see each other next time, ladies and gents, stay safe on the base pass. Thanks again. Bye.